Hello, I'm alone in Finland. This is not EVE Online, and that's a problem. But let's talk about a couple of things. First and foremost, please put down in the comments, and if you're experiencing this, send bug reports in. I have had a problem with EVE recently that has been lag, and it's not been in the main game. Like if you're flying about, if you're clicking about, there's been no problems with that. However, if you've gone to use a market, the industry, the daily objective things, daily opportunities, those have all been lagging like crazy for the past couple of days, and today it actually got to the point where the daily opportunities just stopped working, and then appeared to flash up something that I don't think most people are supposed to see, where you could like trade in EM or something like that to complete the goals instead of actually doing the goals, and then it disappeared. If anybody else is getting that stuff and has sort of more information and stuff like that, send it along to EVE Online, to CCP, so that they can sort of do something with it. My game's gone completely sort of banjaxed, and then today I've sort of, part of the reason I've gotten back into doing videos is because my stuff got repaired in a fantastic way. For those of you that don't know, I had two Samsung hard drives that shit the bed, and I had to send them away. They couldn't be recovered because of it's a commonly known problem with those 2 terabyte hard drives, M.2 drives. However, the place that I bought them from was fantastic, and they just said, yeah, here we go, we'll refund you, even though it's been 4.5 years. And because of the price difference, it means that I've now got 2 replacement drives that are M.2 drives that are 4 terabytes instead of 2. So that's always good. Going to be a bit better for recording stuff, but it is kind of how I've lost a whole load of things. So if you catch me going over subjects and things like that, and you've heard it before, it's because I've recorded a lot of stuff and it's all been lost. Like for instance, I did 3 separate videos on a big series about missioning, and it's gone. So I've tried to go over it again, and I've re-recorded it now with the new drives, but I'm not happy with it because it's far too long. It's like annoyingly long, even to me, and I know how long I take. But this is sort of the thing. So part of this, I got the drives back in, shift EVE back onto a high-speed drive, because I've got 2 other M.2 drives in my computer. One of them is the one that the main operating system runs on, and one of them is a slow one that I use for sort of recording footage and stuff like this. It wasn't actually from that computer. I needed to shift it across for gaming, because there's so much stuff on mine. I've got a second PC, for those of you who don't know, and that PC, I sort of record secondary perspectives from different things and use it for a few other things at the same time. So I sort of moved stuff about. Now I'm getting back into the swing of it. I was trying to put EVE Online back onto my main drive, so I went into the options here on the launcher and hit move, and it said you can't do this, you can't do it if EVE Online's active, which it wasn't. It just wouldn't allow me to do it. But what it did do was move some files and not others. So it said you couldn't do it, but it'd already done a bit of it, and now the entire EVE installation's banjaxed. So I've tried to re-download it, and it's downloading at the last time I checked, it came up to 20 megabits, but originally it was at like 2 megabits. My capacity for download is just shy of 1,000 megabit. So I have no idea what's going on, why things are running so slow. Nothing else is running slow. I've still got high-speed tests and stuff like that. So if you've got these problems, please sort of make CCP aware of it, but also let us know down in the doobly-doo. I'm sort of curious if it's me, because I don't have a problem with connecting to servers in Britain and things like that. I don't have a problem. I think I'm like 3 hops off of a line straight to Britain. I'm in kind of a good place when it comes to infrastructure-wise in Finland. However, I am also aware that there is like sneaky stuff from the Finnish neighbours. So stuff's going all over the place at the moment. So I'm just curious sort of what's there. I'm not blaming CCP, although I am saying make them aware because it helps them. But at the same time, I'm just curious myself. Just a weird little thing for it. Now, with that out of the way, that's the first part of this. The second part of this is, it's Solarfest. It's a new event. It's a new shiny thing that we get from EVE, which is always something that's nice. You get these little challenges, you get these little things to go through. And it gives you a little bit of extra content that's timed and you can sort of rush around and do stuff. Now, my sort of gripe about this over the past little while has been the fact that they've been doing them that are more like multiplayer based. You need 2, 3, 4, 5 people to go and do them, so the vast majority of the sort of single side of it gets left out. Some people run them, some people get to make some stuff, and the rest of us get shafted. However, this time around, let me just read it. Luminous Capsuleer, Solarfest has arrived and bringing a heat wave of creativity across New Eden. Make sure to log in every day, claim new and limited time rewards through the week, from crates to components to skill points, and there's a new gift daily, right? We've all seen that before. You can also truly stand out with the first ever colour shifting nano coating, a brilliant new effect for your skins that is exclusively available during Solarfest. Okay, that sounds interesting. Paragon Hub offers. So, hold on. That's a Plex thing. Enjoy a 50% discount on stuff that you buy with real money. Enjoy a 66% discount on... Solarfest runs for this. Wait, what else is there? That's it. So it's not an activity. It's a slight reduction to get you to spend more money. That... Like... What the fuck? Absolutely what the fuck? Who the fuck thought this was a good idea? Who sat in the office went, you know what, instead of doing a normal summer event, a normal thing that we can all go through together, something that would be interesting for the capsuleers to play, let's put out something that just entirely bleeds them for money. Or they might get something shiny. They'll get something shiny, but they have to spend money to use it. They'll have to spend Plex, they'll have to spend time, they'll have to put some money into the game. Let's try and bleed them for something else. Like, seriously, what the fuck is going on at CCP that they keep thinking that going after money like this is anything positive? Like, when you look at how many people have left since Eve started, or sort of in the past decade, that sort of declining line, and they know that their player base is lower. They're spending more money, but they're lower. And it's the lower figure that's the problem. If your players are leaving, you want to get more back. Whaling people is fine in the short term. Granted, in this case, the short term is 5 to 10 years. But why not make something that works? And this is something that I've got, unfortunately, fantastic amounts of experience with, because I've been at a few companies that have done this shit and have royally fucked themselves. One of them just ceased to exist this year because it was always short term. They had a 30-year plan for growth, but they never bothered to look at the 30-year plan. They were bought over from one company to another company, from investment banking things, and the investment banks used to play the same shit every time when it comes to the end of the year, and they go, oh, stop spending money. Why? Well, because it looks like you've got more in your bank. But we still have bills to pay. How the fuck are you getting around this? Isn't it, if you go to the bank to get more money to sort your loans out at the end of the year, and you declare your capital and then fail to declare your bills, is that not fraud? And a whole load of us at all different levels that were aware of this were saying this. And what's just happened? They imploded because of this, because it was so greedy in the short term. I worked at years ago, I used to work at Chorus Hotels in Glasgow. Chorus had 2 hotels at the same time. There was a hotel in Glasgow that was an absolute shithole called the Carrick, and it was dying. So Chorus bought it over and decided to spend 5 million renovating it. At the same time, they owned a place called the Kelvin Park Lawn, and the Kelvin Park Lawn at that particular point in the middle of the summer was the only hotel in Glasgow, or actually one of only 2, I think the other one was a Hilton, that were making profit. Everywhere else was having problems. There was lower people coming in than they expected. There was all sorts of shit going on at this particular time. And somebody at Chorus went, let's put the money into the Carrick and make that hotel with a horrifying reputation into something good. Neither of those hotels exist anymore. They ran them both into the ground. One of them has sat empty. I think it's actually being used as asylum seeker stuff nowadays, which is actually, for the asylum seekers, it's fairly good because it had a whole load of suites, which would be very good for families. But the what became the chorus, what was the Carrick, that just ticked along for about a year or two before it imploded entirely. And you're looking at it with, not even with local knowledge, just with knowledge that that's a shithole and the other place is better. Let's try and sell off the other place and invest money into this shithole. And you're like, that's never going to work. How is this not obvious? And this sort of comes back to what I mentioned in the last video. There's a couple of videos on two different subjects from Laserpig, and there is a thing about Arma/DayZ that he mentions, which I've seen a while back, which is a documentary on sort of how that evolved. And it's sort of going through this entire bubble that went through the hardcore survival thing, where people were sort of, Rust came out of it as this hardcore zombie survival, and then Rust evolved into its own thing. And then how you've got these other games that sort of keep trying to emulate it and keep trying to implode. Or not trying to, they just keep happening and imploding. And I don't understand why this is still a thing. I don't understand why these games that come out, you keep seeing them in the media, games that come out that have microtransactions up the wazoo and are getting shitted on for it and just disappearing. But somebody at CCP has sat there going, no, it's a good idea. This will make us money. Yeah, but not for long. It'll make you some money. But you're gonna lose all of that goodwill that you had from a player base that is, some of us have been playing for 22 years. I've been playing for over 20 years at this point. I don't understand the mentality of this. I don't understand, because I see an awful lot of comments. There's a fair few that came up. Let me just, I don't want to say anybody's stuff specifically, but go and read through the comments and the videos, you'll see them. And this is a perfect example. I don't understand how they do this other than maybe they hate their clients to the core. You would not believe how many times variations of that comment have been posted. And I see it on Reddit. I see it on here. On Reddit, it gets sort of snapped down because of, well, Reddit toxicity and the true fanboys being on there. But that's a lot of the viewers that are looking at the stuff. So CCP's view is the content, is people, like for instance the other day making a video, it's actually a couple of months ago, but I saw it the other day, making a video about a particular person and saying, oh well, you know, all of his stuff was lies, and then going out and showing that nothing that they said was a lie. One thing might have been, but they provided no proof for it whatsoever. And this is one of the guys that I've seen, because they're now sponsored by CCP, and that they're getting put onto Twitch on CCP's behalf to do streams. And I'm sat there going, read the comments. Like, don't just look at the video of one of your fanboys or one of the Eva boos sat there going, hey, everything's fantastic, everything's amazing, we like all of this stuff, we like having been charged a month's stuff to customize one ship, a month's worth of subscription money to paint one ship. That's what we like, that's what we really enjoy. He sat there going, no, not in the fucking slightest. Like, look at the comments below the video if you're at CCP and have a look at which ones are coming through. Nobody's going, I want this money. Literally, as I've pointed this out, I've just seen another video that's flagged up from this same thing that's talking about, you can make ISK even easier. And you sat there going, no, you fucking can't. This is just, it's like, I've got 20 billion that I could invest, and that makes it nice and easy to make money. Yes, it's easy to make money once you've got money, but most people aren't going to spend their amount of money on that, because to get 20 billion, you are talking like 6 months worth of game subscription. So to play the game for a month, in that case, where you immediately start off with 20 billion, you are spending over 100 quid for a month of a game. I mean, what motherfucker thinks that's a good deal? Seriously. I can understand, like, some people that are sort of into it and addicted. And by the way, in the past, I have spent on some of the big ones. I got a package years ago. I came into a big chunk of money when a family member went. And one of the things was, I enjoy Eve. So bought one of the things that had a few skins in it and like 6 months worth of subscription sort of thing, and it was like 200 and something quid. I think it came with some ISK in it as well. But that was something that was like a one-off. And it was a one-off that paid for my game for essentially a year, because you had the what you call it? You had the game license for the month times multiple. Then you had the ISK, which also gets thrown into it. But that sort of mentality of like the Star Citizen mentality of come and spend thousands. That's not what. That puts people off games. For everybody that you might get in, you're losing 10. It's that sort of thing they say about word of mouth, is if one person is vocally disagreeing with you, and here I fucking am, then you've got 10 to 100 that think the same thing. So for every comment that's negative, there's tens, hundreds. And when you look at some of the stuff, even on Reddit, I've seen it in the past where they've come out with something that is monetized. And I agree with certain forms of monetization. Jesus, I spend money on skins and Rust because I want to support the game. I don't get much time to play anymore. But I think the developers are fantastic. I don't mind supporting somebody, and I'm well aware of the sort of technology behind the likes of EVE, that it needs money to support it. It's not the same as having a game that can run 20 people, 30 people on a server, even 60 people on a server. So I get monetization, and I actually, in sort of the previous video, was talking about that. I think there is some ways, some interesting ways that you could monetize stuff that isn't sort of game-centric, that isn't pay-to-win or pay... Because I disagree with the entire pay-to-win for EVE, because there is no winning EVE, there is just playing EVE. So it is pay to have something. Pay to have some extra time. It is not really a winning. You don't get much of an advantage because there's a counter for almost everything. But I agree with monetization. I disagree with that sort of sleaziness behind it. Here's a summer event that will allow you to spend money with us and get something extra. How in the absolute fuck did somebody come up with that idea of let's paint it as a summer event to get them to spend cash? I don't understand it. And I can understand the Evaboos going, I love this game and I don't want to hear anything bad about it. Because I've been playing for that long. I still play after this long. I still love this game. There is a certain section that might be called marketing or strategic planning or something like this within CCP that I think should be sort of led to the airport and sent somewhere else. Nothing violent, nothing involving a cricket bat or a kayak paddle, but still, you'd be best not to have them in the company if this is the ideas they're coming out with. But you just look at this kind of stuff and think, who thought this was a good idea? I don't know. I don't understand. And my other thing still stands, and I'll still keep sort of going after this because it's become more apparent that a lot more people are talking about it. PvE wins over PvP every time. It doesn't mean you have to get rid of the PvP. You actually don't need to do anything to the PvP because PvE incentivizes PvP in EVE. But adding more of that shit gets more people into the game. More single player experience brings more people into the game. Because the single player experience is where we start. Everybody starts. Shortening that fucking tutorial down below an hour also needs to happen. But if you've got something for one person to engage in, EVE Chat's there. And after EVE Chat, people start talking to each other. Once they start talking to each other, that's how you get in. That's literally what I did. I was doing my own stuff. I was investigating the game, seeing what it was like. And then somebody put onto corporation chat about doing a mining thing. I went and did that. I got in with a group of people. Less than a week later, I'm running some of the big core complexes. And that led into one of the things that I don't think I've talked about this before, but one of my best experiences in Eve was its building. I'm always talking about the PvE and the building aspect in Eve, because construction beats destruction almost every time. People might enjoy destroying something, and there is a little bit of that sort of toxic side of every game fan base that likes destroying things that other people built. But if you don't have anybody that's going to build anything in the first place, if you're not incentivizing the building over the destruction, then you lose people's interest in the PvP. The building needs to come first. You need to build something before it gets destroyed. You need to have a point to build something. And one of the first things that I did in Eve, it was like a 3-day operation, let's call it that. But it was essentially the first corp that I was in. We had a couple of guys, we wanted to set up a POS. For anybody that don't know of those back in the day, you could get a little bonus to manufacturing and to researching if you set up a player-owned station. A player-owned starbase or whatever it was. It was just a big tall spike. You would anchor it around the moon. You could drill moon minerals and you could do research and stuff like this. It was a mini little base. And we went down to LowSec. The particular system's actually now in Boschvan. But we went down there, we set up this thing, and because it was LowSec, because we were all brand new into the game and we were trying this together, we were scared and trying to run security and make sure all the haulers were safe and all of that jazz. And it was 3 days a week. And I mean, the hour downtime, because downtime used to be an hour back then, the hour downtime is when I walked down to the shop to get food, came back, nuked it, and then ate it when the server came back up. And I did that for 3 days, where I did not sleep in the slightest as we got all of this set up. And it was brilliant. So much fun. All of this construction. And then it led into ISS and the construction of that a little while later, which was just amazing to build this stuff. But there seems to be this mentality about destruction and having people fight each other. But if you've not got anything to fight over, if you've got a group of people that don't want to lose their stuff, and then they're just not going to play the game. And then you get a whole load of people that end up in that sort of region of, well, there's no content because there's nothing to fight anymore. And that's something that does get mentioned about nullsec, is the lack of content. So what did they do? They added PvE content. They're like, oh, well, this will keep them occupied. This is something they've been asking for. It's like, yes, that's something everybody's been asking for. They're always asking for it. PvP and lore is something that builds the game world. So that's my short into a long rant. I'll see if, still not downloaded yet. Oh wait, it might have now. I might be able to play you finally. But yeah, thanks for watching. As usual, am I alone in this? If you disagree with me, if you think this kind of thing's okay, please put it down in the comments. I genuinely want to hear from you. As usual, if you've watched all of this, thanks for your attention. Thanks for listening to me expound. And if you're from CCP, please listen. For the love of God, please listen. But yeah, bye.